everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of FitNation. Today, we have a panel discussion where we're going to be talking about big technology's impact on the fitness industry. With players like Apple, Google, Peloton, all taking their claim at the market, this can leave a gym owner, a studio owner, or even a personal trainer wondering, how am I supposed to compete with this? And so FitNation stands for innovation and inspiration. So today we're super excited to have 4 industry leaders talk about some of the impacts that these big technology can have on the future, as well as what you can do in order to be able to prepare your business and compete. And so we'll see you on the other side.
Welcome everybody to this panel discussion. The agenda is going to be as follows. First, we're going to start off with introduction and welcome. We'll then kick into the questions that we have for the panel and some in-depth conversation on those questions. Following that, we're going to go into some of the audience questions that were submitted. And lastly, we'll finish with some concluding comments where we'll ask each of the panelists to sum up something that they have learned or taken away from the conversation. So joining us for today is Stefan Wild, Digital Experience Manager at Live Fitness. Additionally, joining us is Hugo Brum, CEO of Virtuagym.
Hi, everybody.
Also joining us is Avram Elmakis, CEO of Climber. And last but not least, we have Andrew Coleman, Senior Director of Technology and Business Development at Matrix. Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
Great. So let's go ahead and start with some in-depth introductions to you guys to get to know your backgrounds a little bit more. Andrew, I introduced you last, so let's go ahead and start with you first.
Yeah, thanks, Kalen. Andrew Coleman, been with Johnson Health Tech for about 17 years now. Johnson is a leading provider of fitness equipment to both the retail and commercial business segments. We manufacture, under the Matrix brands, Vision brand, and Horizon brand of equipment. My current role, I oversee technology product development and business development, really focusing on strategic partners for the Matrix brand of products, both home and commercial.
Thanks, Andrew. Hugo.
Yes, thanks, Kalen. Hi, everybody. I'm Hugo Brum, co-founder and CEO of Virtuagym, a technology company in the fitness space, and we provide management software combined with industry-leading coaching and engagement solutions.
Thanks, Hugo. And Avram, kicking off to you.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for having me. So I'm Avram Elmakis. I'm the founder and CEO of Climber. My former background is as a serial entrepreneur, building a lot of different businesses in different spaces, but excited to introduce a new connected fitness modality and be part of the health and wellness sector.
Thanks, Avram. And last, Stefan.
Yeah, Stefan Wild. I'm the Digital Experience Manager for Continental Europe, mostly DACH region and Benelux. Live Fitness is mainly industry providing a manufacturer for fitness equipment under the brands Live Fitness and mostly Cybex, and with an open platform to support our customers in the best possible way, let's say getting the digital way and connection to the equipment.
Sounds great. Thanks, everybody. So maybe for starting off, Andrew, we'll start with you on this first question. These are going to be pretty broad, so hopefully we can have a nice discussion on some of these. But the first one is, in your opinion, what is the future of the total user experience, both at home and in the facility?
It's a great question, and it's extremely timely. I think anybody can admit and agree upon the fact that COVID's probably accelerated the digitization of fitness by 5 to 10 years. I think our perspective is that really the idea of needing boundaries such as 4 walls to be tied to a club, as an example, it's probably not as required as it once was in terms of what people's expectations are. And so we really see it as the future of fitness is really kind of going where the user's going, right? And whatever that means, and trying to meet them wherever they are on the end user side. But really, from our perspective, we view it as an opportunity to help amplify, our commercial customers, whether it be a club or a Y or whatever, really try to help amplify their brand and their reach to get into people's homes, to get into people's pockets, and to follow them wherever they might be, and really allow the fitness experiences we've seen over the last 10 or 11 months to kind of happen anywhere. And just because it is happening in somebody's basement doesn't mean that it doesn't have to happen with somebody at a facility, if that makes any sense. And so there'll absolutely be offerings such as Avram's and what he's brought to market, which is a great product. But there's still very much going to be a focus on helping customers, that commercial space and bringing it into the home in various methods, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. And Avram, I'm curious, in your perspective, what are some of the things within there that you see some similar and or maybe and additionally some of the things that you see a bit differently?
Yeah, no, thank you. And Andrew, I think made some incredibly valid points there. I think it's really about optionality for the consumer and allowing them to experience their fitness wherever they would like. And so as a manufacturer at Climber, we're supporting our commercial partners and helping them figure out how to bring things online, and for folks at home, providing a kind of a rich digital experience that can happen in home. But I'm a big believer in both. And that people love being around people, and that gyms will resurface, because I think nothing really takes the place of human interaction in the community that's built in the commercial spaces.
Great, thanks, Avram. And then maybe going into the to the next question. Definitely related. This one I'll start with Hugo, and then if anybody wants to jump in afterwards, feel free. The question, Hugo, on this is, how is technology changing consumer needs and demands?
Yeah, so I think technology in fitness has been around. Obviously now with COVID, the whole digitization of fitness is kind of in the spotlights, especially in a home experience. But it has been happening for a long time. Consumer fitness apps have been widely popular and already the fastest growing category in the App Store for the last couple of years, so well before COVID. So I think what happens actually that now with COVID, it was actually the gym industry who have been really behind, who needed to catch up with consumer demand. And I think what it did now also lead to is that now we have been forced as an industry to make technology an integral part of our service. Is that moving forward, consumers will expect this to remain part of the experience. If you look at what the benefits of technology, I think some of the things are basically getting service 24/7, right? It doesn't stop the moment you walk out of the gym facility. No, you can do workouts at home. You can get coaching on your couch. You can select your personal trainer you want to work out with the next week from the comfort of your home. So I think that's a big part, basically 24/7 service. And another part is hyper personalization. So what you see currently with many of the models in the fitness industry, within the price point of a membership, it's really not possible to provide this personalization unless it's personal training, right? So what technology is going to enable us as an industry to provide large groups of people who cannot afford personal training to get that personalized experience. And technology is going to do that. Technology is going to make that efficient and affordable for everybody. Which I think is super exciting, not just for the end user, but also for us as an industry, because I think it's really going to help us, what I always say, fix the product of fitness. And sometimes I like to make bold statements like, product of fitness is broken. If you look at the retention rates, many people after joining a gym, they stop coming within the first 3 months. That's a big issue. That's our biggest challenge, I think, in the issue of in the industry. And I think technology is the key to solving this. So I think all in all, very good developments for our industry.
Yeah, let me piggyback off that, Hugo. I think you said some really poignant things there, and I tend to agree. You know, I've said for a long time, because as a manufacturer, we've dipped our toes into the digital space, as has, you know, Stefan's organization and as well as Avram's. But, you know, I think there was a mentality in the commercial side of the business for a long time where operators looked at technology as they didn't have to have it. If they had it, it was a value add that provided a workout tracking solution. It provided an opportunity to point to something flashy during a prospective member's tour as a sales tool. I don't think they viewed it as a necessity. Not all, I don't want to generalize, but not all, didn't view it as a necessity for how to extend the business forward. And there's so many analogies throughout the world right now, right? I like to use the analogy of the restaurant business. So many restaurants have pivoted to, you know, here in the US, Eat Street, DoorDash, Uber Eats, that, you know, where my wife and I might have went out to dinner once or twice a year to get out and enjoy an experience away from our children. We're now using those services to bring that experience home. It's different, but that's where the restaurant industry is struggling. It's created and really amplified. And it's also the thing that I think is analogous to our space is it's brought DoorDash, Uber Eats, and the like have brought restaurants to people that may not have tried them, right? And I can tell you with, you know, hand on the Bible, I've tried more restaurants during COVID than I had in the previous 5 years combined, because we're looking for a distraction, looking for something different. We're looking for something to look forward to on the weekend. We're ordering from places around town that we'd never have ever thought of trying before. And I think if you look at what fitness technology is doing to operators, to go back to the retention concern you have, Hugo, I think it's opening up and creating a wider funnel. And what I mean by that is it's bringing potentially fitness and what an operator, a club, a commercial operator, it's bringing what they can offer to a larger audience. And so we're constantly fighting churn as an industry, but one of the other things is we're trying to fight against and compete with the couch or the movie theater or people shooting baskets outside at the local park. We now have all these tools, and facilities and operators have been forced to adopt these tools because they've had to in order to keep revenue coming in. But I think long term, it extends the reach. You know, local facilities here by me, if they go digital, they don't have to worry about attracting from the 3 square miles around their club anymore. They can now put together programs that might reach 30 square miles, 300 square miles, because they've got a differentiated approach, which means more members. It's more revenue, it's more opportunity for people. So this is absolutely a bump in the road for the industry, but I'm confident that with what's happening in the shift, it'll actually be a pivotal moment that's used and seen and thought of as a springboard to bringing fitness to more people.
And actually, there is a quite interesting point on what you said, Andrew, and I actually agree to almost everything you said. But there's even a kind of cultural difference between US and Europe, right? While most of the European fitness market is no matter the fee, mainly based on service, but not being a mature market, actually in a certain way failed to deliver what was promised, which led to these huge, huge retention. Now all of a sudden, it's what happens now is people start realizing that for the first time there are tools that offer the possibility to actually deliver what was promised. Because if I sell something to an end user, to a gym member, saying you get a service several times a year and a recurrent call or whatever, however the structure may be, and you simply fail to have a tool that allows you to, let's say, actually deliver what was and deliver what was sold, you simply fail, which is obvious, right? And now all of a sudden they are getting tools and let's say on many layers tools are offered to actually support for the very first time, and then a proper delivering of service that is promised from the industry.
Great. One thing I wanna jump in on as well. I think it's a perfect segue into the following question. Is Andrew, you mentioned that you have gone to more restaurants now than you've ever had, and I think that's a great example of how your personal consumer needs are changing, and we've talked a bit about how consumer needs within the fitness industry are changing as well. With those changes coming up and thinking about how they're going to manifest in the long term, this question I'd like to direct to Avram. Who are the major consumer personas that gyms and studios should potentially be targeting, and maybe a little bit of context on that? Do you imagine that gyms should will need to have personas that consider that 90% of everybody is going to have an Apple Watch or a wearable when they're coming in? What is the gym goer or the fitness enthusiast of the future look like?
Yeah, I think it's the world we live in now, it's really all about connectivity and connection. And I think the vast majority of users are using wearables no matter what type of equipment or gym, whether it's at home or in the facility. That's kind of standard admission to the game. I think that the real opportunity here is really around content, right? And you have content that's compelling in your particular organization, and is that compelling to a local demographic, a regional demographic, or a global demographic? And it's something we think about frequently, because when we think about connected devices, a lot of times the idea is, hey, we have this film studio and we shoot these particular people with the expectation and the hope that those people resonate with this huge, ultimately this huge population of people. What I've learned, I've been fortunate to have Chad Hurley on our board, who founded YouTube and ran that company. So great experience in content, creation of content, and subsequently the distribution of it. And I think where we'll see this go is the consumer really, deciding who they like based on, their own avatar of what and they might want somebody that, that's hyper focused on what they do versus kind of what I'm attempting to, push out. So I don't know if that, really answers that question, but I see I see the connectivity increasing, and I see the puzzle really unfolding in terms of how content is created and ultimately distributed.
Yeah, 100%. And I think what I took away from that is that the connectivity and the content are going to be what people are going to be more and more hungry for going forward. Mm-hmm. Does anybody else see it a little bit differently? Go ahead and jump in as far as any other major consumer trends that are going to be coming up. We've already talked about that this is an opportunity for these types of movements in order to grow the space overall. Are there any new personas maybe that don't even exist now that are going to be available to gyms and studios to be able to capitalize on? Or are we looking at the same 17% of people who are already gym goers already, and the industry seems to be fighting over all the time?
Yeah, I'd like to say something to that, because sorry, Andrew. I think actually another thing that what technology is doing, it's that it's creating easy access to the sport of fitness. So you're currently seeing many providers, including some of the big tech like Apple with their Fitness Plus solutions. They're moving into people's living rooms with this easy to use, easy accessible home fitness solutions. And what that is going to do, it may be a substitute for some of the people that are going to the gym, but I'm not really afraid of that, because an in-gym experience is really something different than working out at home. What I think that it's mainly going to do is it's going to get more people in touch with sport of fitness. It will have this very big group, the 80% who never went inside the gym, who maybe are not feeling comfortable yet. It will give them the opportunity to try it out, to get excited, maybe to build up confidence, to then say, hey, I love spinning at home, or I love doing body pump at home, but now I want to try the real thing in the fitness facility. So what I think is actually that it will result in a growth of the club industry as well. So, and I think that's really an exciting development.
That was exactly what I was going to say, and it goes back to my previous point that I don't know if I could at least define a persona, Kaylin, because I think that in a lot of cases, we're going to be, this technology is going to allow fitness to go into so many more people's lives that there are personas out there that I couldn't put a definition on, but my guess is there will be more different, and like I said, the funnel will get larger in terms of more people will be brought into, you know, our industry, whether it's in their living room or in the gym. I think ultimately 3, 5, 10, however many years down the line, we'll see this, like I said, as a springboard where the overall industry grows because there's so much more choice. It's so much easier to consume, and there's so much variety that, to me, it goes back to the old adage of it's really, everybody wants choice, because what I like may be completely different than what Hugo or Stefan or Avram likes, different than what my wife likes. But if we're providing choice and it's easy for people to access, you've taken that friction out of the transaction, and it's more available to people.
And if you look at it from the bigger perspective, because we just speak about fitness in particular, but there is a bigger picture. If you look for health, for instance, if you see that even health insurance companies start providing apps that leading to more and dedicated movement and let's say a certain kind of treatment for various situations, it's all the tiny the hints and pieces that are all of a sudden they fall together and create a picture that's far bigger to what it actually was at the beginning of before COVID, actually, right?
Definitely. And continuing along the conversation on this, so as we go forward within this new landscape, Stefan, maybe you can share your opinion on what do you think are going to be some of the most effective marketing strategies that gyms and studios will be able to employ in order to be able to attract new customers?
Actually, the current stage where, let's say, what I experienced in the past weeks and months is actually be very consistent, even, let's say, for free content you share. So at the current stage is the best and only way to be in touch with your own customers, but also to, I like Andrew's example on the restaurant, because it's such a good one, actually, right? And all of a sudden we recognize that members are using this kind of content to work out together with family members that have never thought on going to a gym before. So actually it's let's say, share your content, be precise in what you do, be consistent with your overall message in the content you share, and it's going to work, let's say, at least much better than doing nothing, right?
I'm just a little bit quiet in case anybody else wants to jump in on that one. Otherwise, I'll.
Yeah, I would just say very briefly, I think it's, you know, the pivot is going to happen towards the omni-channel experience, right? So if we think about the world that exists today, let's use Best Buy as an analogous example, right? You've got these brick and mortar locations. The idea is that you have to go there to buy it and then take it home. And they're a beautiful example, in my opinion, of a company that's executed the pivot flawlessly. So they've maintained all of those physical locations while becoming this incredibly successful e-commerce company. And so I vision things to happen much like that, where you've got the ability for the gym to be a showroom for potential purchasing. You've got the gym to be the center of community to get people moving. You've got the gym to be the content film studio for further distribution and consumption. And so from my standpoint, it's a beautiful time, because it's a time where more value is created, you know, in really every direction. And I think I believe it was Stefan said earlier, I think, you know, the pie is going to expand, you know, pretty rapidly. And for folks that are willing to, you know, think about the future and really want to be a part of that, there's a tremendous opportunity to really manifest success with physical spaces.
Yeah, that's super interesting, and I think that the example of Best Buy executing the hybrid model is great, especially if you look at, you know, other business models that didn't fare well, like Radio Shack going out of business in comparison. And I think another common visual that a lot of people share within their presentations whenever they talk about digital disruption is they'll always present Netflix in comparison to Blockbuster as well. And we're kind of talking a bit about that in this conversation here. But with this kind of disruption, and you guys are saying that it's going to grow the pie overall. However, there's going to be potential blockbusters and who are going to be at risk. So maybe we can take this one to you, Andrew. Are there any business models that you believe are most at risk to this disruption?
It's a great question. You know, I think to kind of give a bit of a generic answer here, the ones that are at risk for disruption are the ones that are unwilling to change. Because I think every organization out there, and it seems easy, it seems like a cop-out, but realistically, I've had the benefit of the last 10 months, especially early on, there was a lot of downtime for a lot of customers. And it was really easy to get in contact with a lot of customers all over the world and have conversations that maybe you weren't able to have when things were running hot and heavy. But what I've really been so kind of awestruck with is how quickly so many organizations of various sizes and shapes and offerings have been willing to pivot on a dime. Everything from cleaning and disinfecting to changing their business models, the rapid adoption of digitization. And so it seems like a cop-out of an answer, but I think the ones that are going to be left behind are the ones that refuse to adapt to the new world. And what I've seen and what I've had the pleasure of interacting with customers is most seem to be pivoting quickly, and it's really been pretty inspiring to see that we've all been faced with such a challenge, and so much creativity is spawned out of it. And so I can't give you a direct answer because I don't know, but realistically, so much growth has come from it. There will be folks in organizations and business models that are left behind, but within our industry, I can't point to a blockbuster because everybody that I've had the fortune of speaking with has been aggressive enough and had enough foresight to realize, hey, we need to change, because if we don't, our doors are closing. And so, yeah, kind of an easy out, but it's what my experience has been over the last 10, 11 months.
Yeah, perhaps if I can add to that, Andrew, I think the comparison kind of with the Blockbuster and Netflix, it's not the right one. I would rather like to compare the fitness industry with cinema, right? So it's basically, you can watch a movie at home using Netflix, or you can go to the cinema and you get this whole experience with popcorn, sitting with other people. And I think that's really the difference for the club experience. And guess what? Despite Netflix, revenues in the cinema industry keep rising every single year, right? So again, I think that the at-home experiences, they're not going to replace, is going to be part of the spectrum. And I think many people will be consuming both. So they will want to make a use of at-home experiences, either delivered through the gym or as a separate service, and they will keep going to in-club service. And I totally agree with Andrew. It's about always adapting it. If you find out as a club that certain things aren't working well, you need to change what you're doing. And when the budget change entered the industry, suddenly also everybody woke up realizing I can charge $50, $60 without providing a difference compared to just having a room with machines, right? That's what the budget change were doing. So as long as you keep on the lookout and keep in touch with what your customers are doing and adapting as you go, I think you'll be fine.
Awesome. And then maybe switching gears a little bit and taking this question to you, Hugo. So when I'm looking out at some of this disruption that is happening, it seems to be happening in a couple of different areas. You have a low price point connected fitness play that big players like Apple and Amazon with Halo are tackling, but then you have another one as well, which is a much larger price point play as well, with Climber and Peloton as well. Maybe what we can do is split it up into two parts of the conversation, but starting with the first one, what do you think will be the impact of some of these lower price point connected fitness plays by the larger players be on the industry overall?
Yeah, as mentioned, I think it's just lowering the threshold for getting access to the fitness experience. So I think if it's getting so cheap and also part of certain other membership packages, chances are that people will try it out and get excited. And again, I think that's going to grow the industry. So I wouldn't be too afraid of that. I do wonder in how far the high price point of companies like Peloton are sustainable with now multiple competitors entering in the market. I mean, general when you're looking at product pricing, you often see in various markets there's a segmentation with low end and high end. I think Apple products are super overpriced, yet they're doing extremely well. So high price also kind of creates a high experience, even though it's maybe not necessarily a better product than Android, for example. But yeah, I guess time will have to tell how that plays out. Personally, I'm super impressed by the fact that they can charge a gym membership for a digital service at home, and I think that's only positive to see that people are willing to pay that. So.
Awesome, Stefan. Did you unmute yourself? Wasn't sure if you wanted to jump in there.
Yeah, that's, and I would just agree to Hugo, because at the end of the day, it's speaking about Peloton, it's just cycling more or less, right? It sticks very much to a sorry for that boring kind of exercise, because most people hate stationary CV workouts. So it's a quite interesting approach, and I would absolutely to agree to what Hugo said. So there will be a differentiation and a segmentation for sure.
Maybe a piggyback on that same question. Do you think that this changes at all price? And this one's generally for everybody. Do you think that these price points changes the price sensitivity of what a consumer is willing to pay in a similar way that when SmartFit and also Planet Fitness and these other players grow into different markets, change the price sensitivity as well?
I think in general, you could just say mention it in a most proper way. Once you start with something new, there's always somebody first who defines the price and the quality of the product, and then the longer the business model can evolve, there will be, let's say, competitors and let's say hybrids and let's say changes of the model that lead to differentiation and different price points. So that's for me, it's just a question of time.
Yeah, I think this is very much like a marketing economics class almost.
Yeah.
In the end, it's all about segmenting yourself from your competition, right? So you see in any market, basically, some people, they create something what they call so exclusive, and they make it so expensive that people are willing to pay for it. And on the lower side, you have the super budget value for money solutions that can scale typically pretty good. And there's a lot in between. But I think as long as you really look at who is my customer, and you focus on that, and you fit the pricing to their budget, you again I think can build a successful business around that.
I think it's interesting, and I actually, Avram would want to hear your take on this, because you look at Sony televisions, right? When they came out with the first flat screen TV so many years ago, they were selling those for $35,000, $38,000 a piece. I can walk into a local department store and buy a flat screen 1080p, TV for $120. And I can go in and buy a really high-end flat screen 85-inch OLED TV and maybe pay $6,000. So things do change as componentry and technology advances and things become commoditized. But when we look at the content space, I think what Apple's doing in their following and their price point is really interesting in terms of, you hate to see the C word, right? But commoditizing content. And so, Avram, I think it'd be interesting to get your perspective on this, because Peloton's created this market, and I think they very intentionally went in at a per month price point that's amenable or akin to that mid-tier health club offering in the US of $39, $40 a month. You have competitors that have come into the market, and Apple's, from a pricing perspective, is fairly low on the spectrum. You've got others in the middle in that $10 to $20 a month range. Peloton definitely got the first mover's advantage and kind of set the bar, right? But do you feel, kind of being in an interesting niche there, what do you think will happen with the price of content? Because I believe we're going to see things get to the point, and we already see it. And your board member, right, created YouTube. I can get some pretty compelling stuff on YouTube, and it doesn't cost me a dime. Doesn't have some of the same interactivity that you might have with some of the other offerings out there. But where do you see it going, being somebody that lives and breathes in the space yourself?
Yeah, great. Yeah, thank you. I think it's incredible. I think that more people moving is better than less people moving. And I think low price point options that are not modality specific are a wonderful way to get people moving, right? So like when we think about an Apple offering, unless you have a bicycle or something else, it's typically going to be, some sort of body weight or very minimal tool associated with the content. At least that's what I've seen thus far. I think where Peloton and Echelon and Climber live is there's kind of a tool that the user, or modality that the user is using to consume that content. And then there's a community created within it. And I think to your earlier example, I mean, sometimes I buy these Apple devices and I'm like, gosh, why is it so expensive? But they're the most successful company in the world. And I think people like the design. It functions. It's a beautiful product. It works, and it's intuitive. And so I'm guilty of, probably every year or so, I'll refresh my iPhone. And it's an expensive proposition. Now I could go buy a $99 phone that runs Android. In my opinion, it looks like a $99 phone that runs Android, but it still works. But I think, there's customer segmentation across the board. There's people that are looking for a high-end experience. There's people that are looking for a low-end. There's people that want to, play DVD. You could say, hey, I've got a DVD player and I can watch a Taibo video and still get a great workout, right? I don't need anything to do that. I'm just kickboxing against, the TV screen. So, I think it's about the modality, right? Like, do people like spinning? Do people like climbing? Do people like running? Do people like rowing? I think it's about the quality of the content. And then it's about the quality of the tool itself, right? And so, but generally speaking, I agree that it's just going to widen everything, right? There's just, the days of, hey, I go to X gym because they're a boutique gym that happened to be in my neighborhood and I pay them $150 a month. Peloton's proven it, right? Like, between an Affirm payment and your $39 a month, it's less expensive than that experience. Now you own your tool. You have access to a real community with millions of people. And you have access 24 hours, 7 days a week. And so I think I think it's going to be interesting, and we're only at the beginning, right? This disruption is a wave that's just getting ready to crest the surface. And so I love the idea of big tech like Apple and Google and Amazon coming in, because I think it just, to Hugo's point, gets a wider audience moving.
Does anybody else want to jump in on that one as well? Awesome. Then maybe we can jump on to a follow-up question. We first started off where I directed the question to Hugo about the impact of lower price point technology. Now I want to go ahead and direct this one to you, Avram, as well. What will be the impact of companies like Climber to the fitness industry as a whole?
Yeah, thank you. So, we're all about the modality, right? We're about primal movement. Every humanity crawls, right? Like, everybody's born the same way, and you kind of use this contralateral cross crawl pattern. And so we're about the modality, we're about safety. So whether my mom's on the machine and her workout is like this for 5 minutes, she's still able to move in a no impact, neutral spot, closed loop system, and produce some movement that's got a great safety associated with it. The second thing we're all about is efficiency, right? So if I'm able to provide you the same result, right? If our result is calculated as caloric deficit, which is most commonly the case, in half the time, that's kind of the argument. So our thesis is provide a very high-end, well-designed tool to accomplish those things, and have it be something that you're proud to see in your in your living room, in your space, right? And while it won't be for everyone, we believe that there's a significant addressable market across all ages and demographics, from people that say, hey, I've got low back pain. So in the United States, we have 130 million Americans that don't work out because of low back pain. How do we address those folks? How do we get them moving again? How do we rehab people properly? And then how do we address folks that are like, Novak Djokovic is one of our investors, right? The #1 tennis player in the world. Why would he choose to work out on a Climber versus, a lot of other optionality that he has? And it's all about body preservation and longevity of the biomechanical system. And so, we're thrilled about what we're creating. We're thrilled about the response, and we're excited to kind of see. We almost see ourselves in a way as disrupting the pre-existing modalities, which don't really make a ton of sense, but are better than not moving, in our opinion.
Great, and I'm looking at Andrew and Stefan next to have that same follow-up question. I think it would only be right for me to ask you guys as well how you see businesses like Climber and Peloton ultimately shaking up the industry, in your opinion on it?
I think, Aaron, let's say with a very nice and very right sentence, saying that at the end of the day, it's the more you move, the better for in general, right? So what we see actually is, and I'm sure Andrew will say, come to the same conclusion. There is if you look to the figures, and never in the past 20 years, so many home devices have been sold like in the past, let's say 5, 6, 7 months. And it's not let's say, speaking about secrets, there would have been even more if the let's say companies would have been able to provide or produce, right? So there is a huge demand on stationary home devices. Although to challenge the let's say the call a little bit, I'm not 100% sure if the amount we see currently could not lead to a false assumption in terms of, okay, it's going to be that way for the next 5 to 10 years, right? There have been stationary bikes, all kinds of training devices for the past 30 years that mainly ended up as let's say as a device to put on your clothes in your living room at the end of the day. This is, and you're laughing because you know you've seen that so many times. So this is actually the reason why I have a certain I believe that there's a certain difference to the past, is that all of a sudden these devices come along with some technology, with some content, with some motivational let's say support that keeps end users working out in an easier way. But in the end of the day, to challenge everyone a little bit, it still remains a very monotone movement, right? And whether it's walking, it's running, it's cycling. And personally, I would, let's say, I prefer more the overall strength devices like Vaha, Tonal, or to mention some of these devices, because they offer a much bigger variety, and I'm quite sure that we will also see let's say a growth on this pattern and on this market within the next months and years, definitely.
You can hang a lot more wash on the Climber, Stefan, than on the Tonal. So
that's actually a good one. No, jokes apart, when I had a look at the Climber, it actually, I never got in. Don't get me wrong, I've never got in contact with the product, but it seemed to me that it actually is produced to do something different in addition to the original movement, right? And I like the way that the monitor has a certain height. So it's very easy to do something in front and harvest on the monitor that it's already there. So for my opinion, looking at it as a fitness professional, there's already some thinking about using that as a kind of informational interaction hub. Is that correct, Abram?
Yeah, so what we'll see, I mean, I can't share everything, but you're going to see everything from our artificial intelligence in terms of how we look at your body when you're off the Climber, and how you're going to be able to do weight-based exercises and all of that stuff, all the way to, you know, to me, again, it's about quality of content, right? Like if I'm able to give you the best instructor that happens to live in Miami or London or LA, and you know, to me, again, it's really about the modality, right? And so, but I love them all, right? Again, our big thing here is just move, right? Do something, right? Even if you're starting with jumping jacks at home, right? I'd rather people do that than anything, all the way up to what we do, which is more premium, holistic, kind of rich experience. But I think, you know, it won't just be like riding you know, so Peloton or Climber or all these other things are not just like riding a bicycle. You can kind of hop off there, and you've got yoga and Pilates and all the things that you would find on an Apple device, all while being led by some very talented folks. And so you're kind of paying for access, you know, to that. And I think what we'll do, obviously when we kind of announce some of the different things we're doing with AI and augmented realities, will be very interesting, and you'll obviously need the device to do that. But if you want to hang clothes on it, you can do that too.
Probably not something you guys factored into the development and design of the product, though, I presume.
The idea is that it's a high design product, something that you would like to show off. I mean, when I think about my own home, we have a home gym where we have our bulky treadmill and some of our other stuff in there. And what our intention was here is to design something that's, that's really, kind of beautiful and interesting and different to kind of call the user in a way to, you feel a little guilty walking by it. I do in the office every day, and I'm like, let me just jump on you for 2 minutes at least, so that I can, that I can do that. So to me, it's, it's about function, but it's equally about design. And again, that goes back to my conversation. Like I said, I mean, I could easily buy a $99 phone that functions and probably does everything that my iPhone does, but I'd pay $1,000 for the iPhone because it's a beautiful, well-designed product that I enjoy, right? So I get enjoyment out of that.
Yeah, and I think what we're talking about here is the equivalent of motivation and churn, but out of personal home equipment. That's the way that you quit your treadmill at home, is you just hang your clothing on top of it because it made you're actually not using it. But if we're thinking about not only models like connected fitness, but just the overall content play as well, how does motivation and churn factor into these new models? And this one's directed to anybody, so you guys can go ahead and jump in on this one.
I think it's about having a really intelligent communication system with your customers, right? Like it's saying, hey, we haven't seen you in 2 days, and we've got something new to share, right? It's about connectivity, and it's about whether we're selling a bicycle, a treadmill, a climber, a rower. It's about how do we get people moving with the frequency to actually get the results that they're after. And I think, the days of old of here's an elliptical, it sits there, it doesn't communicate to anything, it doesn't really, it's not a two-way device, that's done, right? I think it's now about how do we create a profile for you at the beginning that tells us, what are your goals? And then how much do you want us to help you achieve them? Do you want a text message every day? Do you want us to say, hey, we haven't seen you in 2 days or maybe 3 days, and you're not going to hit your goals? So to me, it's really about connecting with your consumer in an authentic and regular way. And so I think whether that's a gym, and as a gym owner myself, it's all about getting people to keep coming back, right? Because that's when they start realizing the best results, and they become kind of part of that community, whether that's a virtual community or an in-person community. I think, again, it's really about communication. In the days of, just having a device that happens to do something, in my opinion, are done.
Yeah, I think to build on that, that's a great point. I think connection for sure. And I think, as you said, Avram, these two-way devices, that's almost becoming table stakes now in order to compete. But the idea of to take it a step further, the two-way devices, whether you're in a facility or in your home, they allow progression to occur, right? So it's that kind of the carrot out in front where you can help people through a journey and you can help them progress. Where if I look back at some of on the home market side, right, there have been a lot of things that have come out over the years, whether they were infomercial products or, commercial products that you would order, after a 90-second spot and pay $2,000 to get something delivered to your house. They came with this base of this excitement, you'd put it in, and then you were left with, what do I do now? Whereas I think the connection and then the progression that this two-way dialogue affords, I think it allows people to stay engaged in a way that wasn't possible that long ago, and short of having personal training in a gym or really engaging with staff in a commercial facility. It's the first thing that I've seen that really allows people to get plugged into a program and a progression that they can grow with, which keeps them engaged, because that's ultimately how you drive results. And that is, you know, we all know, we're all shaking our heads. You can't expect to get on a treadmill and, you know, run at 30 minutes at the same speed with no incline for 6 months and get anything out of it, right? You're moving, which is better than sitting, but it's not like your body's going to go through some dramatic transformation. Whereas if you can kind of build this progression and get people engaged, there's something to it that is, it really is sticky, which keeps people coming back for more, which I think is different than what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, and it actually starts very simply with just collecting data, and it's just like you see with all the apps that happen in the game sector, right? These guys are brilliant in how to motivate and incentivize their members in order to keep them ongoing, and what I foresee is something very similar in our industry. So the more we collect data, the more we adapt to their behavior and their training results, the more we can harvest on the technologies, and not even to mention AI as on a later stage, but to drive results and drive improvement, and therefore let's say improve.
Yeah, I got a question directed at Hugo, playing a little bit devil's advocate on some of the things that we're talking about right now. I think with these new models and technology, and especially at-home technology, one of the things that you mentioned, Andrew, is that what the industry is fighting is people being at home on the couch and trying to get people in order to get moving. When you're fighting that, they're on the couch watching Netflix. Netflix is and a lot of these other businesses that have been successful within scaling in the spaces are more about being able to get people to consume, whereas as fitness is something that you really need to motivate somebody in order to engage with fitness. So the question that I have for you, Hugo, is, can you motivate people to work out using technology? And then the follow-up of that is, what is the role of technology in motivation?
Yeah, well, I think the loud and clear answer is yes, definitely. But obviously, technology in the end is just a means to achieve a certain goal, right? So I think the bigger question is, what motivates people to work out, and how can technology make this affordable, right? Because we know that having a personal trainer works. Somebody that says, get off the couch with your lazy ass, that actually works. So I think the big question is exactly what are the various components that drive people to get active? Because by nature, we basically are all programmed to be inactive, to conserve energy, because evolution-wise, that was the most best thing to do. And that was before McDonald's was invented and other high caloric foods, just basically the last 100 years, our lifestyles have become inactive and our foods have become more calorie rich, and we haven't been able to adapt to that. So that's now giving us health issues. So again, getting back to the question, yeah, there's been a lot of research on what's driving people to get active. And maybe the most simple part is just keep being reminded every time. We all know that the 1st of January, we're all kind of realizing again with our New Year's resolutions, now we're gonna do it. And who forgets it within a month? You get caught up with life, and there go your goals. So technology is first and foremost can help us remind, oh yes, we wanted to get fit, we wanted to look good next summer. So that's an important part. Technology can help us get easy access. A big problem with lifestyle change is that is friction in doing the right things that are good for us. Technology can make this easier by providing us directly what we want, what we need at that moment in time, tailored to what we need to do, right? It's like what they say, technology can put our running shoes in front of the door for the next morning, the moment that we get up, because if you have to start looking for your running shoes, that's when you disconnect and you don't go out running. Maybe sounds, you recognize this. So this is what technology can do. It can preset the training plan for you to do at the gym, because if you're in the gym, you have to find out what you need to do. That's already causing a lot of friction, and then you say, well, I'm just going to sit on the bike and then I'm going to the sauna, and that was a nice workout, right? And then there's tons of other things like social interaction. People, we are tribes people, we're a group people, we're driven by social interaction. So technology can help make fitness social. I hear so many entrepreneurs say, yeah, people will keep coming to the gym because it's social. In my experience, fitness is not social. Some people bring their friend, but beyond that, that social interaction is often not there. There's a few concepts that really drive this, and they are typically highly successful because of it. But building connections using technology, I think, has a lot of potential as well. And that also includes peer pressure, right? So when you're working out, other people see what you're doing, so you're pushing a bit harder and therefore getting better results. So there's a wide array of techniques that technology can apply to get our lazy asses moving. So yeah, I think super exciting that's going to happen in the next years to come.
Awesome, thanks, Hugo. And Avram, looking at you for that same question, how are you looking at tackling getting somebody engaged with the platform rather than just going to that couch and watching Netflix?
Yeah, again, I think it's exactly what Hugo said. It's exactly what I said a minute ago. It's an inclusive community that you're designing, right? Whether that's your uncle, your aunt, your cousins, your friends, whatever. And it's doing it as a group, right? It's climbing with your friends. It's climbing with your family. It's meeting new people. If meeting new people is of interest, it's, you know, consuming different genres of music, right? Maybe you want to listen to a particular, you know, maybe it's EDM or maybe it's hip hop music. Everybody's consuming things differently. For me, I think the real key to it is, can we start people off with just 5 minutes, right? Like my big thing is we all have 5 minutes in a day. Can we just, you know, start there? But again, it's all about, you know, communication, and then it's about awards and achievements, right? When you think, I don't know if anybody on the call has a Peloton or has experienced that platform, but it's a very rich, dynamic environment where, you know, when you hit your century ride, you know, you're part of a new club and you're getting a t-shirt and you're welcome to the family. And then you're, you know, it's about the journey, right? And so it's about communicating with people over this journey, making it inclusive so that, you know, your best friend lives in London, but you live in Chicago, and you guys can now work out together, right? And kind of compete. You know, that's the key. And then it's really about the communication and getting a feedback loop from that system to say, hey, we haven't seen you. You know, here are 3 options to get back on there. And you know, after a while, you're like, okay, God, you know, I gotta, you know, like I'll have my settings on annoy me as absolutely as much as you possibly can, right? Because I need that level of motivation. And then there's other folks that, you know, they're already self-motivated. They're going to work out every day, regardless of if a machine reaches out to their cell phone to say, hey, you know, whatever. So I think it's about community. I think it's about and community and communication.
Awesome. And Stefan, maybe starting with you on this question then, obviously right now we're talking about the role of technology, but if we're looking at the model of gyms and studios, one of the things that's super important is that personal touch. How is that kind of juxtaposed to what we're talking about now, and how important is personal touch within fitness? And are we completely changing that, as we're looking at a virtual world?
I don't believe in that. At the end of the day, as Avram actually prescribed already, we are human beings. We are, let's say, no, and Hugo did. We are, let's say, we like social interaction, no matter if it's a real interaction, but we don't want to be lonely in a certain areas. There is, and we actually like to advise from a human being. There are definitely a lot of opportunities and a lot of solutions that could replace kind of introduction, support, content providing, but there is nothing at the current stage that supports or replaces the human factor. What is going to happen for sure is the role that trainers, as we now call them, and have been covering in the past 10, 15, 20 years, the role will change. Because, let's say, in the past, they were the owners of all the content they were the ones designing the training programs. Nowadays, nobody needs to design a program anymore. They need to understand what's going to happen, but that's going to be done much better, much more efficient from a piece of software that actually covers all the results and make sure that there is a certain progression behind it. So by definition, the role of the human factor will change more in the communicational part, in the motivational part, probably in a sales and linking process to the dedicated product or dedicated community. So that's it's actually more the coming closer to the rule of the glue, to getting these pieces that at the end of the day create the overall experience, getting these pieces together.
Interesting. This is a perfect segue to one of the audience questions that came in as well. So with kind of your opinion on that, the question that came in from the audience member then is, what's the role then of the personal trainer then in the future?
I think generally the same that's been in the past. And one of the interesting things is, let's say, looking at the role of technology in various levels of fitness as we see it in Europe, right? We have technology in low budgets, we have technology in premium fitness clubs, even in personal training. But where the big variance comes from is actually the personal contact between user and technology. What do I mean? If you remember how McFit 20 years ago started as a low budget, they actually were the first ones using technology in a fitness, in a gym floors, because you entered this info terminal, you got asked several questions, then get your customized training program, which by accident was a predefined solution that you could find on the gym floor, but there was some kind of assessment behind it. So from the look and feel, people had to go and use technology themselves because it was low budget. On the high end nowadays, the personal trainer, if he's a smart one, will still make sure that he covers and collects the data of what you do, what your target was, how you felt, what he was what the topics you were speaking about, all these things. But you, as an end user, will not, let's say, be in touch with the technology itself, because, let's say, at the current stage, we're speaking about getting technology in and technology in and technology in. If you look to the history, the history has worked in pendulums ever since, right? We now have more and more technology, and what you can see is there is already a kind of backdraft coming, say, okay, I need some spaces where get rid of all this technology, and that would create a dedicated business model as well. Probably the niche for the personal trainer, because this is the non-technology, only analog part of your life that remains, let's say, tidy, more or less. I would like to hear your opinion, Andrew, because you look so.
No, I'm just thinking through if I agree with, because I think really technology should be used, if you look at it through the lens of a personal trainer, technology should be leveraged to help the trainer do their job better, more efficiently, connect with more people, because you hear the statistics all the time that the most successful commercial facilities and the happiest members are the ones that have several touch points with human beings on the commercials or the staff side, right? Whether it's somebody at the front desk saying hello when they check in, somebody handing out a towel, working with a coach or a trainer. So I think technology plays a role and it helps to enable and facilitate connections. And I think from a trainer's perspective, their function, is similar, but they almost need to act as ambassadors for the industry, for the facility they work at, and be out there connecting with people on the floor, whether they're a direct client or not, because the facilities that really will succeed and thrive moving forward, tech is going to be a part of it, whether we like to admit it or not.
Yeah.
The idea of a tech-free zone, it's only going to continue to proliferate in terms of connectivity, whether it's a watch, your phone, a tablet, a treadmill, a climber, it doesn't matter. It's everywhere. I think we can develop and provide technology to help trainers be more successful, because I think they need to really elevate in terms of being ambassadors for the facility, ambassadors for the industry, and being out there, whether they're working one-on-one, if they're working in small groups, or they're just walking the facility floor, really enabling communication and connection on a personal touch and provide that sense of community. That's so I was thinking about it. I hear what you're saying, but I think tech plays a role whether they like it or not, and they really need to be there to help pull it all together and be that human touch point.
Without any doubt. That's what I meant when I said the trainers or the personals, the staff covers the role of the glue. You called it the ambassador, but at the end of the day, it's exactly what I was heading to.
Got it. Makes sense.
Yeah, I totally agree, Andrew. I think as such, the role will slowly evolve from a more technical role, where trainers are very much involved in building the training plans, etc. I think software is going to take over more and more of this, and trainers will be more educated on motivational coaching, hospitality, things like that. And I completely agree about trainers. People are expensive, right? So you wanna make as much use of people for the touch point part and not for building training plans. If you have trainers spending an hour on building a workout plan, something is going wrong. And I think it's great to see that some of our customers, they have trainers coach up to 200 people at the same time. They can use like mass assigned workouts, just assigning workouts with a click of a button to certain client groups that have specific tags. So that's helping them be so much more efficient in what they're doing, and that's just the start, right? What sensoring is going to do is going to bring in so much more data than trainers will be able to do. It will bring trainers to a doctor's level in terms of medical knowledge that's being generated, and it's going to make suggestions for those trainers to provide super tailored and super smart advice that they will never, or maybe even with extremely high education, will be able to do. And that will allow us also as the industry to expand our coaching to target groups which maybe are outside the scope of the fitness industry. So people that have diseases that require specific needs there, where typical education of a trainer doesn't suffice to do that responsibly. Technology can actually make it a lot easier for a trainer of any technical level to help people with diabetes, cardiovascular disease, etc. Because through protocolization and smart sensoring, we know that it can be responsible. And I think there's a huge opportunity for the fitness industry to also move more into the curative domain of healthcare, and that's at least the direction where we really want to push as a company.
Yeah, the audience questions are really great. A perfect follow-up on that as well, which is about artificial intelligence. So I think what you were saying there, Hugo, is artificial intelligence has the possibility in order to do workout programming and start taking over some of those responsibilities for the personal trainer. This question is about artificial intelligence in general, open to anybody to jump in. What are some of the other ways that you guys feel that artificial intelligence will affect the future of clubs and the future of customer engagement?
Yeah, if I can add, I think it's going to be a game changer, because with AI and basically big data, so all these apps, all the sensoring, etc., is going to generate data, and that will allow us, at least through machine learning, to identify behavioral patterns with our customers. Behavioral patterns we are not aware of, behavioral patterns our customers are not aware of. But by analyzing that through machine learning, you can actually, based on that, start segmenting people into, as an example, if you know that, let's say Mike behaves himself in a certain way. So he starts out in the gym, he indicates he wants to work out 3 times per week. The first 3 weeks he comes 3 times. After that he starts coming 2 times. And at some point, Mark is sick, he stops coming for a while. He does open the app, maybe does a measurement. With big data, at some point, what you're able to do is know, hey, before Mike, we had somebody else who was behaving in exactly the same way, and they churned 1 month after he stopped coming altogether, or 2 months after. So what that will do, if it happens again, it allows us to basically, using this data, to create predictive models, and this is actually something that we did and are piloting with, is analyzing big data. Can we create a predictive model to start predicting if members are going to churn? And once we're able to do that, of course, you can start activating interventions to see what's working to prevent them to churn. Offer them like a free induction session to remind them of why they joined the gym and get them active and successful again. And with the trial that we did, a pilot with one of our customers, we were able to predict with 84% accuracy whether or not any particular member was going to churn or not in the next month. So I think that shows the power of data. There's no way that you can look at the particular member or look at their usage pattern and that you can make that estimation by yourself as a human. And that's, I think, where the power of AI can come in. And just as an example.
Yeah, I would use another example too. I love that example, Hugo. That's incredible. So congrats on what you're building there. That just sounds very exciting. I think another implication of AI is through camera technology, right? So we can very quickly map you as the human, deduce a significant amount of information, and then through the camera we can follow your movement pattern to say, you know, hey, this form doesn't match, you know, here or there. And I think we're going to start to see a significant amount of AI camera specific technology being introduced across a lot of these devices that will correct your form in real time, that will help you to realign yourself in your body position, right? So there's some just fascinating technology that's able to be kind of, you know, much more intuitive and perfect, if you will, than a person evaluating another person, saying, hey, it looks like your hips are off, but you know, the AI is pretty darn good at it. I can tell you that.
All righty, guys. Looks like we only have time for one more question, just to kind of wrap it up. This one we can go ahead and do as a round, and have each of you answer it individually. You guys have all shared a lot of great information as far as what your thoughts are within the space, and as leaders within the space as well. I'm sure others are looking at how you guys stay educated and up to speed as far as what's happening within the industry and how you guys determine the future of your organizations. So with that being said, maybe starting with you, Stefan, 2 questions. What resources do you use in order to stay informed? And then another question as well is, what's the best advice that you've ever received?
Okay, starting with that one, because it's the easiest one. The best, let's say, advice, let's say, in terms of success with technology as a kind of best case, is actually be consistent in the use of technology with your product and with what you do, while still being open and adaptive to changes that come from market or competitors. How do I educate? I read a lot, I have to admit, all kinds of articles. And frankly speaking, as I'm not a techie guy, I have a sports scientific background, and there was one situation where I said, am I still the right person to speak about technology at the age of 50? And it's a quite easy situation for us at fitness at the current stage, because we are so far behind if you compare to other industries, right? So from that perspective, it's quite easy to look at other industries and the ones ahead and how they adapt. And then probably it's even an easier one to come in, to have an experience in the daily business of a club and having some understanding on technology that allows the creation of something new, rather than looking from the tech perspective and don't understand how actually servicing people in fitness areas are actually looks like. So it's a kind of the weak point actually proved to be, from my experience, let's say quite a strong point. Because I used to say, every nasty shit you probably could do with an end user with something digital, I did it myself as a trainer, which is the best heritage I'm harvesting on, right? Because it's knowing what is not working with customers and knowing what potentially may go wrong. It's a huge asset and provides a lot of mistakes and a lot of frustration that's been out there, because in generally coming close and getting close together, for my opinion, and then let's say recognizing what happens in our market, most of the people starting projects on getting digital, they think that if I buy something, if I implement something that's digital, I'm done. And the nasty story is, the moment you start with the technology, you're on a journey that will never end, and that even accelerates the way you need to change and you need to adapt. And this is something that most people, at least in our industry, have not really, let's say, inherited.
Thanks, Stefan. Avram, how about yourself? Let me know if you want me to repeat the questions.
Yeah, the second question. So please repeat the question. Sorry.
You got it. Yeah. So the questions are, what's the best advice that you've ever received? And what resources do you use in order to stay informed and educated as a leader in the space?
Yeah, so I'm going to be super brief, but I would say best advice I've ever gotten was, work hard with persistence. Nothing takes the place of that in a life. And the second thing is, I'm very grateful. I've got an extremely talented team of investors and employees that we're extremely collaborative. And so I like to think, while we live in the present moment, we're conscious consumers of the future. And each day I will get, readings or articles or whatever filtered over to me, and love consuming all of that stuff. So that's me.
Thanks, Avram. How about yourself, Andrew? Best book, and then resources that you use to stay informed and educated.
Yeah, so they kind of go hand in hand, and one that kind of the best advice is talk less and listen more, right? And I think that's applicable in any facet of life, and that's one I have to work on every day. But reality, I think where we do a lot of our learnings and is really peer networks, my personal network, and then customers, and I view customers as part of that personal network. And our industry is not that big when we take a step back and look at it through the lens of the world, right? And so there's a lot of really smart people in our industry, whether they be, other manufacturers, customers, tangential suppliers, things like that. And I find that a lot of the best learning and the best ways to facilitate growth professionally, as well as, within our business, is by paying attention and really listening to the discussions, because sometimes it's what's not said that really spark those aha moments. And I can point to several examples as we've developed products that may born out of conversations with customers and industry insiders and trusted advisors, that you stand around a sample and you review something and things come out, and really the most impactful things have been things that have been born out of discussions that were had, and you realize people were talking about things and they weren't coming out and directly stating what the problem was. Mm-hmm. But through the conversation, you were able to hone in on really what the underlying issue was, because a lot of times people have a hard time identifying that. And so for us, it's really listening to the customer, listening to the other advisors in the network, and really paying attention and listening to what's said, but most importantly, what's not being said.
Thanks, Andrew. And Hugo.
Yeah, so I would definitely agree on reading as much as possible. I love reading business books on whatever topic. I think it's super inspirational and helps you get better every single day, basically. But yeah, I would say that the best advice, if I have to pick one, I love the 16 Rules for Success from Bob Parson. He's the founder of GoDaddy hosting services. I think he's a rock star, and he has this list, 16 rules for business success. And one of those is the moment when you feel most ready to quit is the moment that you are closest to your success. And I think that's really all about hanging in there. My brother and I co-founded the business together with my brother. We took 3.5 years before we started making money with our business. So we were paying ourselves 1,200 euros gross. That's like $1,400 per month after coming out of a job as a lawyer. So that was pretty tough, but we always kept believing. And because we kept going and we were able to make many mistakes before we found that product market fit. So I've been feeling like ready to quit for 3.5 years, but then my success came. So I love that advice.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for taking the time in order to join us today. I'm sure that everybody listening at home had the opportunity in order to take a lot of nuggets from this conversation. We really appreciate you all joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.